Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm out here in Tennessee on location, but hey, we got Max Brosmer joining us in the Hang with Ron Johnson segment. He gives us some good intel about his quarterback that he's been sharing a room with J.J. McCarthy, and we asked him, if you were to play 7-on-7 right now, do you want Kevin O'Connell or would you take Josh McCown? Stay tuned for that coming up next.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson. This is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm out here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. I got a chance to reach out to my guy, Eric Decker, who, of course, he lives out here. His wife, Jessie James Decker, is a country singer. So what better place to be Nashville? So he's giving me the lay of the land. But hey, on today's show, people, I got Max Brosmer, former Gophers quarterback, current Minnesota Vikings quarterback, on today's Hanging Around Johnson segment. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But we got to talk playoffs. NFL playoffs. Yeah, it's early, but we're going to talk NFL playoffs, who we predict is going to be the top 7 teams from the NFC. Maybe we'll do the AFC next week, but the NFC and where the Vikings fall this coming season. But I want everybody to know, before we jump into the show, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I've explained this to you before, people. If you go on, find an easy bet. Now, you can do something far out if you want, but why wait? Take that $5 bet now. Find something easy. There's some baseball games. I'm pretty sure you can figure out who's going to win. If it's a really, really good team and a really, really bad team, just bet that $5. You win. You get $150 in bonus bets, and then you're playing with house money after that. Just go to FanDuel.com to get started. Well, as I bring my producer into the show, my co-host, Sam Ekstrom. Sam, the NFL, right? It's dead time right now. It's nothing going on besides guys packing up. We have Max Brosmer coming up next in the Hang Around Johnson segment. Let's jump into the show real quick. So NFL playoff segment. We're going to predict the NFC playoff bracket and where we think the Vikings will be. So to start it off, I want to first remind everybody of last year's winners. So in the NFC only, we're not doing AFC. So you got the Eagles, you got the Lions, you got the Bucks, and you got the Rams. And then the wild card, you had the Vikings and the Packers. So the NFC North was the best as far as getting teams in the playoffs. You got the Vikings, Packers, and Lions. No other division had that. Every other division had one.
Eagles and
right?
Commanders were from the East, so they had a couple.
Oh, Commanders. Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Commander. I'm like, why am I missing one? I'm like, that was only 6. My math was off. But yeah, so the Commanders. So the Commanders and the Eagles were in the NFC East. You got 3 from the NFC North, and you got 1 from the South, 1 from the West. And so, Sam, just to be real quick, when I jump out there this year with this one, for the 1 seed, the tough thing about the Eagles and the Lions, you finish first in your division again. So you're going to get first in the division when other teams you play. Like when you have to play your crossovers, you're getting the 1. The Vikings were the 2. The Packers were the 3. I think 2 and 3 in a lot of these divisions, when you look at the Vikings schedule. Again, I've done the schedule prediction on Vikings.com. People, please go to Vikings.com if you want to see that. I already predicted the season. I've been pretty close every year. I gave the Vikings like 11 wins. And when I'm thinking about it, I think there could be more because last year I felt the same way, and then Sam Darnold pulled a rabbit out of his hat a couple of times. By the way, Sam, I don't know if you remember this or thought about this. He made a ridiculous throw against the Seahawks. He won that game against the Seahawks. That's why the Seahawks wanted him. I mean, if you're a coach and you're coaching against that quarterback, and you're like, dang, I got a chance to get this guy. I got to go get this guy. And so that I saw that again. That game popped up. Somebody put it on Twitter, and I'm like, that's probably why they wanted him. But I'm gonna say Eagles make it, Lions make it. I'm going with the Buccaneers again. And so here's the one. The NFC West is weird to me because the 49ers just had an off year. Mm-hmm. Can the Rams do it again? Seahawks have Sam Darnold. I'm not picking a normal. I'm going Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold and the Seahawks with their weapons, I think Sam Darnold maybe gets it done out there in Seattle. Also, the NFC West has been proven to be an easier path or least path of resistance for any team in that division. I think the 49ers get in it this time as a wild card. I'm going to put the Vikings back in it as a wild card. I'm not giving the Saints, Panthers, or Falcons a chance. Not saying they don't have a chance. I just don't think they're better than the Bucks. And then between the Packers and the Commanders, that's the one that's a toss-up for me. And then you got the Cowboys, you got the Giants. I don't know if the Giants have it. Commanders still have Jaden Daniels. I'm going to knock the Packers out of this. I'm going to put the Commanders in this. I'm going to say it's the Eagles, Commanders, it's the Lions, the Vikings, it's the Bucks, and it's the Seahawks. Now, Seahawks and Niners. And so I'm putting 2 from every division, and then there's going to be 1 from NFC South. And that's where I'm going with. I think the Niners, I mean, you pay Purdy this money. You got rid of Deebo Samuels. You kind of got the headaches out of there. You kind of know. And Deebo Samuels, people are saying with the Commanders, is looking kind of like plump, but I still think he's giving the Commanders and Jaden Daniels a weapon that they've never had. The 49ers had him. They also had Brandon Ayuk, and they also had George Kittle. They still had Christian McCaffrey. Again, it's going to come down to health. Can Christian McCaffrey stay healthy? Because he hasn't been. And that's been their weak point is injuries. Guys getting hurt. So that's my 7 team, Sam. I'm not going to go rank them where I think they're going to finish. That's just my 7. I think in the playoffs. What about you?
Yeah, I think you got some. I'm not saying that they're going to be a wild card team, but they're wild card clubs in the sense that they're a toss up. I don't know what to expect out of, say, the Falcons and Michael Penix. Is Michael Penix going to be a legit 17-game starter that carries that team forward? I think that makes the Falcons interesting. There's a lot of quarterbacks waiting to take that next step. Bryce Young, Caleb Williams. If one of them does, then I think it makes those teams interesting. You got Dak Prescott coming back to the Cowboys. I think they're certainly hovering there somewhere. Like, they're going to give teams some good games. I don't think they're the class of that division. And could the Eagles suffer a Super Bowl hangover? We're always surprised by a couple teams that surprise us in a good way. Couple teams that kind of fall off in a bad way. I think that Ron, certainly the Lions could be that team to fall off. They've been so good now for so long. They lose the coordinator on both sides of the ball. Could the Lions be, at minimum, dropping off into a wild card position? I feel like that's a legitimate possibility. And finally, before I kick it back to you, I noticed on FanDuel, for the longest time, the Vikings were projected last in their division. And now the odds have totally shifted. They're like up there right next to the Packers, basically tied for second behind the Lions. So the betting has really been strong on the Vikings. People like in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, I think J.J. McCarthy, the more the offseason goes and the more people talk about him, the aura, as the kids would say, the aura of J.J. McCarthy right now is plus 10,000. He's going on podcasts. He's showing the world that he really believes in his Harbaugh'isms. And I think that's the key for this. Like, J.J. McCarthy is a guy that can be a difference maker. Now, Sam Darnold, 14 games, right? 14-3 season. They were 8-1 at home, 6-2 on the road. The Lions is the one for me that's interesting on the road. They were 8-0 on the road and 7-2 at home. So you're right. Some of those wins that they got were given to them. And I think Kevin O'Connell learned a ton from playing the Lions. And I hope, because I've talked to Keenan McCarthy about this, I hope that the plan now with J.J. McCarthy being able to run a little bit better, or he can run better than Sam Darnold, you got some naked boots. So when you think about J.J. McCarthy, I think it comes down to him, and that's why the betting is the way it is. Also, Sam, too, you know this, man. If people are putting money on it, then the odds makers are like, wait, are we giving them too much of an odds? Like, do we need to bring this back to the forefront so it's not such a big gap where everybody's just betting and they're going to win this? So that's part of it too, is where's the money going down? Because it's this is the thing about sports that I love, especially this early on in sports. You never know. You pick a horse now, you have no idea what's happening. J.J. McCarthy could get hurt at any point. Jared Goff could get hurt at any point. Jordan Love, Caleb Williams. Like, we just don't know. We don't know. And so I think the Lions are missing their coaches, offensive defensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. That's the one is the offensive coordinator. I feel like he had a lot of stuff going on there. But speaking of offensive coordinators, speaking of quarterbacks, Minnesota Vikings, and we got Max Brosmer, who's going to be with the Minnesota Vikings through training camp. Hopefully he's going to stick around through the season. And he's joining us next in the Hanging Ron Johnson segment. So make sure you stick around for that, and we'll be back after word from our sponsors.
And we're brought to you by FanDuel today. The summer sports are in full swing. Major League Baseball approaching the All-Star Game. Few games left. Twins, Cubs this week at Target Field. Go check that out on FanDuel. Wimbledon going on right now. I'm dialed into the quarterfinals. We got Fritz trying to get through to the semis. Let's go. Got to get past Alcaraz. Got to get past Sinner. Ben Shelton's in the mix. I love Wimbledon. I love the WNBA. The Lynx might be the title favorites. All of that's available at FanDuel, plus the golf. 3M Open coming up locally. Check out the new daily promotions. Put together same-game parlays. There are live wagering options, super fast payouts when you win. And if you're new to FanDuel, you can take advantage of this offer. Bet 5, get 150 in bonus bets if the first bet wins. Find a juicy money line, cash in the 5, get the 150. Open the FanDuel app or visit FanDuel.com to get started today. FanDuel, make every moment more.
Well, now it's time for the Hang with Ron Johnson segment, and you guys know I love to get my Gophers back in this show, and this is a special Gopher because he didn't start off a Gopher. You know, when you bring a quarterback into your system with this new transfer portal, you never know what you're going to get, but Max Brosmer ended up being better than advertised. With no further ado, you know, this is a guy that led the team into some big wins, through some big times at Minnesota, but coming from a smaller school, hitting the portal, and then just living the life of a college quarterback. Max Brosmer now with the Minnesota Vikings. So, Max, that's the first thing I know. I was at your pro day, man. I got a chance to talk to Josh McCown. Josh McCown and I are friends. You know, we've played. He's a grandpa now, by the way. I tease him about that all the time. I can't believe I got friends that are grandpas. Josh McCown and I were in the 2002 draft class. Mm-hmm. And that was the one thing when I told him about you, man. I'm like, man, that kid can spin the ball. And then Keenan McCardell and I talked about you as well. And so I was like, you know what? At some point, I got to get Max on here. I'm going to get you during training camp too. But I want to get, you know, before we get to training camp, I want to kind of build it up so the fans understand what they're going to get when they see you at training camp and in preseason. And so first off, I want to say that, man, what was that feeling like when you start getting calls from NFL teams and you realize, you know what, I really am going to, you know, have a chance to be on the team?
It's an amazing experience, honestly. I think for, you know, everybody that's blessed enough and, you know, has the opportunity to go through it. It's an exciting, exhilarating experience, but also a nerve-wracking experience too, because it's really your first official job interview, you know, every single day or every other day when you get interviews. So you go from interviewing with teams on Zoom and on phone calls, then you go do it at the Combine, the Shrine Bowl. It's a crazy roller coaster. And, you know, the biggest piece of advice I got and that I would give out is just be yourself. And that's, you never want to lie to a team about who you are and never want to, you know, present yourself as someone who you're not. And I just did my best to take it one day at a time and meet as many people as possible. And that's what I felt like I did. And I had a blast doing it.
And I know PJ Fleck is super excited, you know, having his own quarterback in his own backyard now where he can just show up to training camp and see a guy he knows. I mean, there's Blake Cashman, there's other Gophers there.
Yeah.
But, you know, what was that like having PJ out at practice, and did he give you any advice, or what was he kind of messing? Was he saying anything to you? Because I saw pictures. I was out there actually doing some other stuff, so I didn't get a chance to get on the field. But I did see PJ, you know, out at the practice. And so what was that like having him out there?
It was really cool. I think it's really cool just for the Gophers and the field, like you said. Just to experience, you know, having the guys coming back and, you know, for Cash, who's been out of college for a while, it was a little different for him. But for me, coming out of college, just be my first year as a rookie, it was pretty cool to see the transition from college to the NFL. And having, you know, Coach Harbaugh there was really cool too. I've spent so many hours working with him on offensive football, and then being able to talk to him about what I'm doing now, and comparing and learning different points of view. It's really cool. And for Coach Flex, for that kind of part of the question, I thought it was great for him not, you know, being on my ass all day. I'm like, I could finally just sit back, throw the ball, and not have to feel him breathing down my neck all day. I'm just kidding. I love Coach Fleck. And that just kind of shows you a little bit our relationship. You know, we pushed each other on the field every single day. He was pushing me all day, and I would push back a little bit. And but off the field, we're super tight, and still to this day super tight. So. It was really cool kind of seeing that kind of angle of him where, you know, now it's not really coach to player. It's more like, you know, friends at that point, and kind of seeing, you know, where we went from in the season and to now, you know, where I'm playing as a quarterback for the Vikings. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're playing for the Minnesota Vikings. We just had Dante Culpepper on, Vikings alumni. He and I got a chance to golf this past week or
Nice.
2 weeks ago. And then, I had him on the show as well. He's been up here in Minnesota doing some stuff on and off, and he'll be back for alumni weekend. So I'm for sure going to make sure to connect you two again. But when you look at Dante Culpepper and you think about like Minnesota Vikings history, you got Tommy Kramer. You got Dante Culpepper. You got some guys that made some stops, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon. But Dante Culpepper is one of the upper echelon quarterbacks to come through this. Kirk Cousins, of course.
Yeah.
But what was that like, having a chance? Because I saw him. I saw Blake Cashman's joke. We heard that one about the candy bars and trick-or-treating and all that stuff. But it's funny because Blake's told that before. I don't remember when he told that story, but maybe when he was a Gopher, he talked about that, like, being a kid going trick-or-treating. Because I think PJ, you guys do a big like trick or treat thing for kids.
We do.
And so I think Blake was talking about that. Like he remembered trick or treating to a Vikings house or something out in Eden Prairie.
Yeah.
But yeah, and see again, that's how old it is. They were in Eden Prairie, which I'm probably 5 to 7 minutes from Bear Path, where a lot of those guys frequented. And now you guys are out in Egan. But what was that like having Dante Culpepper back out there on the field?
It was so cool, dude. Initially the first interaction was just like introductions where it's like, hey, nice to meet you. And it was like a 3-second introduction. And I'm like, that's Dante Culpepper's hand. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he also got to speak to the rookies. And that's where I got to be able to kind of, see how he interacts with people and get to understand his point of view of playing quarterback in the NFL and being successful at it. And he's just an uber talented dude. And I just from hearing through his stories, but also through other people's stories, the work ethic that he showed and how much he cared about the program and the organization and the people. That's why he's successful. He just loved the ball and he worked his ass off. Him from Pico, one of our player personnel.
Les. I like Les.
I mean, he speaks so highly of him, and we talk about having a legacy, and that's the legacy that you want. It's not about the touchdown passes and the completions that you threw. It's about the person you were and how hard you worked and cared for the people you worked with. And that was the biggest thing that I took away from meeting Dante.
Yeah, man. And I love Dante, because when I grew up, when I was with the Gophers in 1998, 99, 2000, he was here in Minnesota that 99, 2000 year. And so it was just cool to hear the stories that I've seen those games. I've seen the stuff happen, and the Hail Mary might have been the one that everybody's seen where he throws a Hail Mary to Randy Moss. Randy Moss catches it, not in end zone, so he has to flip it back to Mo Williams, a running back. He scores. And the joke, forever was that Dante Culpepper didn't have the arm to get the ball there. That's what Randy Moss would always tell. So Dante finally ended that argument and said he threw it to that spot on purpose because he's like, if you go to the end zone, it probably just gets batted down because, when you do Hail Mary, everybody runs to the end zone. And he's like, look, there's a big open area at the 10-yard line. Let me just throw it there and see if Randy can, go moss somebody. And he mosses somebody, but still gets grabbed. And he's like, oh, here's the running back. Let me toss it over the back of my head to the running back coming. So it's cool to hear those stories. But like, have you seen that highlight?
No, I haven't. That's something I got to go watch. I think the cool argument you make is like for Hail Marys, like I feel like 85 to 90% of the ones that are completed are usually tip balls or something. Yeah. And like you look at the one from the Commanders last year. Game and Jaden Daniels chucking it like 70 yards in the air. Just all the fans just being demoralized after the Commanders caught the ball. So that's something I got to go watch. That's funny.
Oh yeah. He threw it short. And so, Randy Moss for years is and I, honestly, I didn't know Randy said that. I thought he said something else. Like Pep thought it was a different play. Yeah. But Culpepper says that Moss has been saying he didn't have the arm strength. So that's why it was funny to hear him say that. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And he's like, he's been trying to make fun of me, talking about I couldn't get it there. And he's like, I could have got it there. I could throw it 70 yards, but I saw the open area. And I'm like, but yeah, the Commanders and same thing. Like I, working for the Vikings and doing Vikings Game Day Live, that was one of the things we talked about was the fall of the Bears because the Bears player, if you haven't seen that, he taunts the crowd beforehand. Ball is snapped. He's not there. So I actually interviewed, I stayed, T. I don't know if you know T Time or you met Terrell Smith yet, but plays for the Bears.
Haven't met him yet, but I've heard his name.
Yeah, he played for the Gophers like 2 years ago, I think. And so I had him on. And I didn't want to talk about that because I didn't want that to be the basis of the interview. Yeah. But I had Jason McKee on, who's the Bears fullback, who now is their radio analyst. And he talked about it. And he was able to be honest. He was like, man, I could not believe
what I was seeing. He's like, I could not believe dude was standing over there taunting the crowd and Jaden Daniels is running around. It's like, what are you doing? Like, so, you know, it's just crazy. But, you know, one more about Dante Culpepper before we jump over to, because I mean, you've had some crazy stuff, man, and working for the Vikings, doing Vikings Game Day Live, and being on the PJ Flex show, man. I've heard a lot of stories on and off camera about you, about the team, about stuff that's happened. But I do want to get to this. And so I saw this firsthand last year. CJ Ham, I don't know if you went to it, but he does the charity softball event. Yeah. And JJ McCarthy played shortstop when I was there last year, and Sam Darnold was at third base. And the first thing I noticed is that JJ McCarthy is freaky athletic. There's a tweet out there where I say that. I'm like, he's an athlete, because anybody that can play softball and baseball at shortstop, they got some athleticism to it. And so he made that comment about, and this is Dante Culpepper, former Vikings alumni quarterback, said that JJ McCarthy is super athletic. Have you seen that in practice?
Oh yeah, it comes out. The smallest things of, you know, jogging from, or, you know, running from period to period, going to Indy to quarterback center exchange, or vice versa. It's just, you kind of can see the way people run in general, and like, oh, that guy's pretty athletic. And then when you see him, you know, move around a pocket and, you know, do scramble drills in 7-on-7 to make it, you know, a real rep. Yeah. Kick and spin it, dude. And he can spin it on the run. When he's running around, he looks, I mean, crazy athletic. And, you know, I think that just helps a ton when you're playing the NFL. I mean, college, it's a big deal too, but when you get to the NFL, it's a little bit different, you know, pace and speed of the game. And to have someone who can move around like that is really important, especially being a dual threat when you're out of the pocket, being able to throw the ball and run like the way he does.
Yeah, and you haven't had the live bullets just yet in the NFL. You've had the college bullets, but the live NFL bullets, I mean, I witnessed it my rookie year, going from OTAs to training camp where it picks up, and then that first preseason game, you're like, oh, okay, that cover two closes really fast. Yeah. Like it's a little bit faster, a little bit bigger. Guys are, you know, DNs are running 4.4, you know, 4.5. You know, you'll have the Patriots coming to town for 2 weeks with for a week with camp with you guys. So you'll get a lot of live reps there. When you what have you noticed? Because again, I mean, you're getting Harrison Smith sometimes going full go, sometimes making sure not to hurt a receiver, because he's a true veteran. Like, he knows better than to even get close to some of these guys. Theo Jackson was just on our show, you know, Viking safety as well. We had him on 2 weeks ago. Thanks to the Minnesota Vikings for setting that one up. But Theo Jackson talked about, you know, the speed of the game and everything. And Brian Flores' crazy defenses and the calls.
Crazy.
What have you noticed about the difference in some of the looks that you're seeing from your own team compared to like what you saw in college?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on the head. It's the ability to close space. I mean, I started in New Hampshire, right? And then went to the Big Ten, and that was a big jump. Yep. Thought that was a huge jump. Then going from the Big Ten to the NFL is another big jump too. And, you know, we can argue all we want about what conference is close to. But like Big Ten, SEC, whatever.
I'm pretty sure the Big Ten has a national champ, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Big Ten guy through and through.
I think 2 years in a row, the Big Ten has a national champ. So I'm say what they want to say.
Guy through and through. But even my argument is just the fact that the speed of the game changes even another level when you go to the NFL. And it's the consistency of the speed. Yeah. There's not, you know, every single guy runs that kind of similar, you know, speed range and can move the same way for the most part. And when holes are looking open, maybe it's not as open as it seems because people can close space so quickly. And it's also, you know, our defensive structure is incredibly unique. And for our defense to be able to know, kind of just sense where routes are going and feel the speed of the receivers and where they're going. That's another NFL attribute for a defense, but also for the players on that defense. They've seen the route so many times. You talk about Harrison Smith. It's like he's able to see things that are behind him and can cover things from behind him. And you have no idea as a quarterback at the moment. You're still learning how he moves around. Mm-hmm. You know, how can I throw this ball without him getting there? But he's going to get there every time. Just because he's so smart and has seen it so many times. And so that's the jump. It's the athleticism piece and the consistency of the speed is a little bit of the jump, but it's also the fact that you're playing against grown dudes. Like you're playing against people in the NFL for, you know, 10 years and have seen the same concepts over and over and over and over again. And as a younger quarterback, you have to be able to, you know, play within yourself, take the completions where you see them, and then hit the big ones when they come. So that's kind of the game you play as the quarterback, as a younger quarterback anyway in the NFL.
Yeah, and we got Max Brosmer here joining me on the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment on Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast network. Max, I want to ask you about some games. So we had Daniel Jackson on, and we definitely, I think, what was it? We had him on a couple of times actually. He was on the PJ Flex show. I think you've been on the Flex show as well, once or twice. I know once for sure. Not sure if you did it a second time, but Daniel Jackson and you have, in my opinion, the best play I've ever seen, and I don't know how it didn't win more awards. But against Michigan, first off, I totally like the half the things that happened in that game, the turnovers and what so and so forth. I definitely understand, like, somebody missed coverage, balls wet, guys weren't, just mentally weren't there. Because in the second half, you guys clicked.
Right.
But Daniel Jackson up the seam, or it was a double post, maybe. I think it was double post.
It was double post, yeah.
And because we had Elijah Spencer on as well. Elijah Spencer talked about that play too. He kind of said he ran that first post and he said he saw the ball go by and he's like, I don't think he's going to get it. And then he's like, wait, did he just catch that? When you threw it, so you threw it and you threw a strike. Like, you threw it to the only place where it was either him or nobody. When he did the spin, in that moment, did you think he was going to be able to hang on to the ball with one hand? Like, did you know what happened? No,
I thought at minimum we were getting a flag, and we ended up getting one. I thought at minimum, because his whole arm was trapped. His right arm was trapped, and I don't know how he got there. We talk about that's a timing route, and so it's a bang bang play, and you're gonna throw it off his break, and you're gonna throw it to a spot high and away where only my guy can get it. And for him to get to that spot, you see, if you watch it over again, the leverage of the corner, they played like a box coverage. They boxed out our double post. The leverage that our high defender had on Daniel, he was like off and inside at 2 yards inside of him. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I got the back of the end zone to work with, but I'm not sure he's going to get there. So I just said, screw it, I'm going to throw it. And we were kind of in that mentality, right? We were coming back in the fourth quarter and we're like, we got to score some points, so we're just going to put the ball in the end zone. And he broke it, ended up getting in front of him, like, oh, we got a shot. Gets his hand trapped, and I'm like, all right, let's get the PI and get out. Then he ends up catching it, and I'm like, okay, he got the ball to get his feet down. And I start freaking out because I realized when he stood up and said a touchdown, I'm like, I'm going to try to sell it as best as possible and see if we can get a touchdown, from the ref. So it was the most incredible catch that I've ever seen in my life. And also be able to be the guy that threw it and say, yeah, I threw that ball that Daniel caught against Michigan in 2023 or whatever, 2024. Like, that's a cool feeling. Like, being the guy, like, oh yeah, I threw that ball, but that's a Sports Center, top 10 worthy catch in the end zone. So that's something that we relive, whenever we see each other, like, oh, you remember that catch against Michigan? And something that we will for the rest of our lives, probably, as long as we continue to stay in touch. And we have, it's been incredible. We want to talk to him throughout OTAs and stuff. So, I mean, he's just an incredible player, and I wish him, all the best at the Texans.
Yeah, no, and him and Ariante Ursary, so you got two Gophers there. You got, Eric Murray's out there. So that's what I hope you get a chance to do too, as you travel throughout this preseason and training camp and so on and so forth, and even further in your career. I hope you get a chance to connect and do as much as you can around other Gophers, because you were a 1 year guy, but you're a Gopher forever, man. Like, that's the one thing. Like, when I see you on the field for preseason, because I'll be most likely, because our show is right before the kickoff. So normally, if we have an hour in between our show ends and then kickoff, I usually come down on the field. So I'll make sure to, connect with you too, man, because I've learned in this business. This is my 11th year working for the Vikings now. And it's been truly a blessing to be able to connect with guys like Sauce Gardner, went to my high school in Detroit, Michigan. So, nice. Sauce Gardner, Larry Foote, who coaches for the Buccaneers, he and I, Antoine Randall and I played together, so it's just, you kind of create this fraternity, man, that, like, you have your college fraternity and then you have that NFL, but that college one, as you see guys in NFL, it opens more and more doors, man. So, I pray that's your experience. And I've heard great things about you already, man. Like, I heard it when you came in, PJ talked about you. And that was the one thing when you have a marriage, because, I mean, honestly, Tanner Morgan and PJ were married for like 7 years. When you have a marriage like that, it's sometimes tough, but I could see right away PJ was enamored by your arm and your throwing, your ability. And I'm just so happy that Drake Lindsay stayed and didn't do what a lot of kids do, which is, I'm not going to play right away. I'm out of here, because that's what he could have done. And I hope PJ starts to build that up to understand, like, sitting for a year or two is not a bad thing. That's good, because you get exposed to, like, greatness in front of you. And then you're not exposed too soon, because so many of these quarterbacks I'm watching in college get exposed too soon and they fizzle out and they don't last.
It's like the NFL too. It's the exact same thing.
No, 100%.
And I think it's amazing for, a guy like JJ to be able to see Sam Darnold play for a year. Like, whether, the way it happened, the way it did, for some reason it happened the way it did. And he is, because of that, I feel like he's light years ahead of where he would have been.
Yeah.
I think it's really important because in the NFL, when you're a high draft pick as a quarterback, most teams you're kind of expected to be the starter right away. Yep. And then you have a tough year, then like, I'm not sure if this kid's the real deal. So I just think at the NFL level, it's just like the development piece is so important. And it's so hard to be developed in the NFL because you got to be ready to go. And that developmental year as a first year rookie is really important. And to speak on Drake Lindsay, that's exactly the same thing. He's incredibly mature for how young he is. And for him to stay and prove to his team and his teammates that he can play quarterback for the Gophers and be a starting quarterback I'm very excited for him. And I think all Gophers fans and Minnesota fans in general should be excited to see him play this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely am. And that's why like my fall is the craziest, because I don't think I've ever told you my schedule, but like I do the PJ Flex show on Tuesdays with my show as well on every Tuesday, our show airs. And then I got the Flex show. Then Thursdays, we got the Vikings show. Then Saturday, I got Gophers pregame. Sunday, I got Vikings pregame. And then for for a K-Fan radio, I do the post-game Vikings show as well. I also do the Gophers post-game show as well on another podcast with NBC. And so it's hectic, but I love it because like July is kind of my downtime too. Like I get a chance to get away. Like I'm going to Nashville next week for my daughter's softball tournament. She's in the World Series. She's only 14, but she's playing in the 14U World Series deal. And awesome. Eric Decker, Eric Decker lives down there in Nashville. So that's the first thing I did. I texted him, hey, man, I'm gonna be there for a week. Let's link up. Yeah. And so that's what I love about it too. Like as you start to enter cities, man, and seriously, you have my number. If there's ever anything, if you're like at a game and you're somewhere and you're like, hey, do you know this coach or do you know this guy? Like if I don't, I'm gonna find, like I can text Keenan McCardell right now and say, hey, Max is looking for this. If there's ever anything like that, man, never hesitate to ask me. I do want to ask you some questions about college football now that you're out of it, because now that you're out of it, you can kind of answer these questions. So when you look at your schedule from this past season, you should have beat North Carolina. You beat Nevada. You beat who you're supposed to be. I'm not going to even talk about Iowa. You should have beat Michigan, but we know the referees and the pane of glass. The rules, people. So I'm not going to argue pane of glass with the kick. You beat USC. You beat UCLA. So you take care of the West Coast. You blow out Maryland. You beat Illinois. You should have beaten Rutgers. That was what's his name? Ethan Caligmanis is like he circled that game because he was here before you, and so he really wanted to get that game under his belt. Penn State, same thing, should have won that. You beat Wisconsin. And then when you look at, and then you beat Virginia Tech in the bowl game. But at 8-5, knowing that you could have had 10 to 11 wins when you think about those 3 games, how much of that sometimes do you replay in your head now that you're out of it? Because I know when you're in it, it's goldfish mentality. You got to move on to the next because you can't wait. You got to flush it, move on to the next. Like I've talked to PJ a bunch about that, putting on the vest, taking the vest off, building the house, everything like that. But now that you can look back and be like, man, I can't believe we let that one go, especially with North Carolina. I truly believe if you guys play Rhode Island first and then North Carolina second, you win both those back to back. But does any of that go through your head like, man, I can't believe we lost that game?
Sometimes it does. I think there's sometimes there can be pros and cons of doing that. I think there's, as a competitor, it's tough when you start to think about the games. The Penn State one is the biggest one that sticks in my head, especially because Kobe King is on our team, and everything we talk about is he's always like, "We are," and I'm like, dude, like you guys should have lost. But that's the hard thing is it's football, and you make 1 or 2 errors in a game, and sometimes it can cost you a big football game.
Yeah.
In reality, I think I pride myself on doing a good job of looking at things in a positive light and looking at things as, things happen for a reason. And as much as I struggle to say that when we should have beat. And I look at the cool moments, like beating USC at home was really cool. Beating UCLA in the Rose Bowl on a 2-minute drive was really cool. And those are the memories that, I challenge myself to continue to prosper, to think about as college football moments. And I'll never forget that crowd rush at USC. But I'll also never forget the play that I lost control of the football against Penn State. Mm-hmm. And there's moments like that you can learn from, taking those losses as learning moments for the rest of your career, because football's not over yet. And I hope to continue to play for as long as possible. And something's going to come up like that, along the line. And I'm going to use that as a way to potentially win the game next time, or potentially put my team in a better situation next time. So everything happens for a reason, and just take it as it comes, and do your best to look at it in a positive direction.
And you guys get a chance. You actually have a blessing on August 9th. I know I'll be there at 3 o'clock p.m. But you guys have the Texans actually coming into your building. So you'll get to see Daniel Jackson, Ariante Ursery. How have you guys texted about that yet, that you're going to get a chance to play each other? And the fun thing about this game, it doesn't matter. Preseason literally does not matter. You could lose by 50. It doesn't matter. It's all about putting good work on tape so that the next team, if you end up there, or your own team, can see how you can handle the live bullets. But have you guys talked about getting a chance to play against each other?
We haven't talked about that specific game yet. The communication that we've had has just been kind of like a weekly or every couple week check-in of OTAs, minicamp, mandatory minicamp. I love to check in with them, and especially Daniel too. Daniel and I got really close this year. And so to be able to hear how he's doing in that receiver room over there, and picking up the offense, talking about, he's similar to the Gophers and not some of the Gophers, and here's some of the stuff that I'm learning as a player, is really cool, because that's bigger than football, right? It's about, becoming the best version of yourself on a daily basis. And I feel like for us to be able to change directions and go to the professional level, there's so much to be learned. And so learning from each other is really cool to hear other perspectives too.
Yeah, well, we got a little quick break, and then we're going to come back and do a little hot seat. We're going to put Max Brosmer on the hot seat. It's kind of like this or that. So I'm going to give you two things. So like, for instance, Kit Kat or Snickers. You have to pick one. Don't think about it too long. These are all football-related things, though, and this is player-related or game-related. So I will give you a hint. Kevin O'Connell comes up in this, but it has nothing to do with coaching. So take coaching out of it. Just think about Kevin O'Connell as a quarterback, because I've got a chance to interview Kevin O'Connell's wife and kwesi-adofo-mensah, Kwesi's wife. Kwesi helped me set that up with the wives. I love to talk to the wives and the players and the coaches. But I got some fun stories from Leo O'Connell. But kwesi-adofo-mensah, if you ever get a chance, you should ask him about just be like, hey, I heard your wife almost tore your ACL playing basketball.
Oh man.
Kwesi and his wife was a hooper. Kevin O'Connell's wife was a D1, I think, soccer or volleyball player too. So, but she was a hooper, and so she played Kwesi one-on-one. Almost tore his ACL.
Was a hooper too.
Yeah, he was at Princeton. So almost tore his ACL though. So you got to ask him, if you ever get a chance, when you see him on the field, just be like, hey, I talked to Ron, and I heard your wife. What happened? Like, she almost tore your ACL. So he'll never play basketball against her again. But no, so it's similar to that. But KLC, this is all athletic wise, and we'll do that after a short pause. Brosmer, real quick before we get out of here, I got to put him on the hot seat. I did this with Kobe King. So his rookie teammate, Kobe King, my guy from Detroit, Michigan. He went to the rival school, by the way, Cass Tech. He also went to the rival school, Penn State. But you know what? I still got love for the guy. His brother, Kalen, as well, plays for the Packers. So you guys saw that interview with Kalen and Kobe King. So enjoy that. So I put them on the hot seat with their dad. That was super fun.
Wow.
So now I got to put Max on the hot seat. So here we go, Max. Pick one. Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football?
Sunday Night Football.
Why is that?
It was something that I grew up watching with my dad, was specifically Sunday Night Football. It was always, we had like 60 minutes on, and then once 60 minutes was over, it was Sunday Night Football. And so I'm like, can this 60 minutes news crap get off of my TV so I can watch football? And I was just replaying that over with my girlfriend a couple of days ago. I was like trying to figure out what time 60 minutes started, and I'm like, okay, Sunday Night Football in Georgia started at 8 o'clock. So okay. So that's probably my answer. Okay. So game day, Thanksgiving or Christmas? Thanksgiving. Not even close. Not even close. It's the turkey at the end, bro. Okay. It's be able to watch, obviously the winner between, if the Cowboys are playing, obviously when the Cowboys are playing, like, all right, who's going to eat the big turkey leg? And then be able to watch. I mean, the thing is huge. If you look at the actual turkey on TV, it's probably way bigger in person. So probably Thanksgiving. Yeah, funniest turkey, turducken, which is John Madden. Right. The funniest moment, and you could probably Google that too. It's a Vikings moment.
Stephon Diggs, I think, Adam Thielen, and Kirk Cousins, I think were the three up there. And I think Adam Thielen took a big bite of it, not realizing it had been sitting out since I forgot what quarter. They brought it out, like third or fourth quarter, they said. It was so dry, and he didn't realize he wasn't supposed to take a humongous bite. Yeah. So like half the interview, he's like trying to spit it back out. The funniest thing ever. And then and she's trying to ask, she's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I didn't realize it was gonna be this dry." Like, and I don't think he was supposed to say that on TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that's supernatural. Awesome. That's why I love live TV. You never know what's gonna happen. Yeah. All right, here's it's gonna get tougher as we go.
Okay.
Gronk or Travis Kelce?
Oh man. I feel like if I played quarterback, I probably would have liked to play with Gronk.
Okay.
Bigger body.
Yep.
I feel like Travis Kelce, he's very. You have to get a lot of work with Travis Kelce. He's a little unpredictable with movement sometimes, but him and Patrick Mahomes work out perfectly. But I would say Gronk probably.
Okay. Might be too young for you. They might be too old for you, but I'm gonna still go this. John Elway or Joe Montana?
I would say with my limited viewership of both of them playing live games, probably Joe Montana.
Okay.
I think the system, I would say with the system he was in, being able to kind of fall down that tree a little bit.
Yeah.
Where there's a little bit of a similar offensive tree, I would probably say Montana.
All right. Here's where it gets hard now. Tom Brady or Peyton Manning?
Tom Brady.
Oh, not even a hesitation.
I'm a Tom guy.
Okay.
I like Peyton Manning a lot. I liked how vocal he was, but I think when I say vocal too, it's not just people always think of like, oh wow. It's the field general mentality for Peyton Manning. But for Tom, it was like both of them knew everything that was coming at him, but it was like, it's just the ability. It's the ability to see everything at one time and be able to diagnose the coverage right away and command everything right away. And having obviously the career that he had, I mean, that's unbeatable in my opinion.
Yeah, and I will say I got a chance to coach for the Colts for 2 years, 2 off seasons, a little bit of one season after Tony Dungy retired with Jim Caldwell. And I will say Peyton is every bit of what he says he is. Like every little word, every little code, every little hot and cold. Like he has the ability mid-game to change the hot word. Yeah. Just in case he thinks somebody's stealing his signals. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it was amazing how first half, here's the hot word. Second half, here's the hot color now. You know, he would give them a cool down play, which means cool down. I'm not doing anything. I just want to mess with the defense. Once the defense gets into a coverage he thinks they're going to be in, because most defenses check to like cover 2.
Sure.
Then he's like, okay, I got the play I want versus this. Or if he can see, okay, they're still coming to all out blitz, man, I'm doing this. Like you got to, the story he just told, like I love Peyton Manning stories because I remember part of them. I was there for him. Mm-hmm. And he tells the Jim Mora. So I met Jim Mora's assistant. So the playoff like that coach. Mm-hmm. So when I got to the coach, I had to ask her, I'm like, hey, you were here for Jim Mora. And she was like, yeah. I was like, what was going through your mind when you guys heard him screaming playoffs from the interview room? And she literally said, she was like, oh, we all started getting boxes out. She's like, we're getting fired tomorrow. She's like, there's no way we're going to have jobs tomorrow. Yeah. And she said the only saving grace was he got fired and Tony Dungy came in and didn't want to make any changes. So he kept everybody. She was like, that was their only saving grace. She's like, after they heard him say playoffs and they were like 3 and I forgot what they were, but like Peyton tells so many stories about that. And his mind is so good. Like, because he talked about like a play where he knew the play. So it was like 404, which is double digs, which is the dumbest thing ever because they're on the same level. Okay. But it's quick dig. So what he means is when you break, I'm throwing it right away. So you should never run into each other. Well, of course, you know, I forgot what happened, but basically he caught it one time, threw an interception. He never wanted to run it again. He's like, this play is stupid. I don't want to ever run it again. Dallas Clark and Reggie Wayne come to me. They're like, hey, ask Peyton about 404 and see what he says. They said, I guarantee he's going to remember the game, the date, and who he was throwing it to on that one interception, because he doesn't throw a lot of, you know, he can remember interceptions like that. Yeah. He literally like went into the whole thing like it was yesterday. He's like, oh yeah, I'll never forget. They were in cover 2 and I don't know why I stuck to the play. I thought they'd be a zone hole, but both linebackers, the Will and the Sam dropped, which you never drop the Will and the Sam. You know, like he had the whole thing in his mind. He's like, why would you drop the wheel in the Sam? It's like, well, they're dropping 8. So that's why. But, he didn't think about that. So he threw the ball and threw it right to the linebacker. He's like, I'll never run that play. He never ran that play again. He ran it one time in his entire career. He's like, I'll never do that again because it makes no sense. He's like, I'm not stopping anything. So that's why between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, for me, that's always a tough one because I coached Peyton. I got to hear Peyton. But you're right. 7 rings. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with. But the last one, fun one, this is all quarterback ability. You've seen both these guys throw the ball in practice. Kevin O'Connell always talks about he loves to grab the ball and play quarterback. If you had to pick your quarterback, are you picking Josh McCown or KOC?
Trying to get me in trouble, dude. Trying to get me cut. Oh, man.
Strictly 707. They don't even got to be in the game. It's 707 in practice. Like right now, though, not 5 years ago. I'm talking about right now. If you 707, who you saying I want this guy to run 707 for us?
Oh, man. All right. We're just gonna be honest. I'm gonna go with my guy Josh McCown.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because he'll just pick a ball up and throw it 50 yards just by flicking his wrist, and it'll be on, right on your face. And he won't even have. He didn't even throw a ball before that. Wow. And I'm like, okay, how do you do that? He's like, my arm never gets sore. I've just been blessed genetically that way. And I'm like, dude, like, I also spend the most time with Josh, and so if I feel like I said KO, then I'd probably get banned from the quarterback room.
You love it. I love it.
Josh also played. I think he was the last guy in the draft class, in your draft class. That played.
He was still going. I think between him and Ed Reed. Ed Reed was in our class too. It was between them.
He got him. We had this conversation. I think he got him 19 years or something crazy. So you don't stay in the league for 19 years if you can't throw the ball.
No.
Like that. So I'm
Josh is in the history books for Minnesota too. He's had one of the greatest radio calls when he was with the Cardinals, and he beat the Vikings and knocked the Vikings out the playoffs. So like Josh McCown has hurt Vikings fans. Yeah. It was before, I forgot what year that was, but the radio call is the best ever because they just assumed it's over. Like there's no way he's making this throw, and he makes a throw tight end. I think tight end catches it in the corner of the end zone or side end zone.
Was it one where he's rolling to the left and he threw it back to the right?
Something like that. Yeah. And the announcer for the Vikings, who's still the announcer, so you'll meet Paul Allen, but he is like, no, like it is one of those like, I can't believe it just happened. Yeah. No, because he's like, it's so funny. So when Josh got the job here, that was the first thing everybody started talking about, was like, have you ever heard that call? And Josh like, yeah, I've heard it numerous times. Yeah. But yeah, like he knocked the Vikings out the playoffs. The Vikings just knew like, okay, we win this game, we're in the playoffs. Yeah. And so a lot of the Vikings guys, we talked about that too, old players. And I love those stories because they're like, yeah, now we got to cheer for this guy because he's our quarterback's coach. But he knocked us out the playoffs. So yeah, but I'm Ron Johnson. That's Max Brosmer. I want to thank you for joining me on Hanging Ron Johnson segment. Coming up next, we got the Daily 3. It's going to be a quick one today, about 3 minutes, 3 questions, 3 minutes each, and we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Man, so glad we got Max Brosmer on the show. I love what he said about J.J. McCarthy. You know what? Josh McCown versus Kevin O'Connell, Sam. I can't wait for the world to vote on this too, because I want to see what people think about those two quarterbacks. Because we know Kevin O'Connell says he can sling it still, and Josh McCown definitely. I mean, and Josh McCown, if I'm not mistaken, is older than Kevin O'Connell. That's what makes this an interesting conversation, is because Josh is older, and so most people would assume you take the younger guy to be your 707 quarterback right now, but no, he's taking the vet. He's taking the old guy. But yeah, I love Max, and I can't wait for this training camp for him to get a chance to get some NFL action. But now it's time for the Daily 3, Sam. Take it away.
All right, Timberwolves Summer League action coming soon. They are sending their 2 draft picks, 6'11" Yohan Berenjay and 7'3" Rocco Zakarski, to that team. Ron, I don't think I've asked you about this. What do you think about the Wolves getting bigger, a 6'11" guy, 7'3" guy in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When it comes to Rudy Gobert, I feel like that's just what do we have? Like, do we have a guy that we can replace Rudy Gobert with just to give us 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe? Because if you think about Nasri, you think about Jay McDaniels, you think about Anthony Edwards, what does Rudy Gobert give you? Is he going to give you the 22 points like he did in that playoff game, or is he going to give you the just bare minimum because he's getting older? I feel like he's a bare minimum guy right now. Maybe there's more to him. But I like the height. I like the added height. I just don't know what you get out of those guys. Like, are they going to be true pieces, or is this just another like needle in the haystack? I'm trying to figure out what I have. Again, if they happen to be great, like I look at Bronny. Bronny in year 2 looks really good right now. So maybe these are year 2 guys. Maybe this is like a futures type of pickup to say, hey, these are big bodies. Can these guys become just like, centers that nobody knows about, but they end up being really good? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough for me to imagine. Both these guys are 18, by the way. It's tough for me to imagine them being impact players right away. I think big guys of that size develop a little slower. But when I see 7'3" on Rocco Zikarsky, if you're 7'3", maybe you can impact an NBA game right away just with your size and your length. All I want is one of the two to have the defensive sensibility of Gobert with better hands. I just want to have better hands at the offensive end, steal some rebounds, be athletic, catch the ball. I'm not asking for, turnaround Jays. I just want you to catch the ball in the post. Ron, Netflix's new season of Quarterback actually debuted today. Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins are the 3 quarterbacks. If you get around to watching it, which of the 3 would you be most excited to watch their season chronicled?
I don't know if I'm so much about the player themselves, but what was going on around them. So, like, I want to see Jared Goff because he's navigating the Ben Johnson potentially getting interview stuff. What does that look like? Is there any, like, intel within there where he called Ben Johnson saying something like, I might not be with you next year. So, who knows? But then Kirk Cousins, I mean, going through adversity, I think that's going to be an interesting one for Kirk Cousins. Like, it wasn't the season he thought it was going to be. When he signed up for this, I bet he thought, I'm about to go out here and kill it. I wonder when they started. Like, was it around we drafted a quarterback situation and he was caught by a surprise and now we're going to see that conversation. So I really am. Kirk Cousins is more like a daytime drama with all the stuff he went, when he said, I eat elephants or whatever, or I shoot, I something about he shoots elephants or something. So the elephant in the room was, Pennis was going to be the quarterback. So he wanted to hurry up and call him and tell him, hey, I'm behind you 100%. So all that, I want to see what that looks like. I wonder if Netflix went out and followed, maybe a Penix in Costco, because, he said he was in Costco with his wife when he got the call that he was going to be the starting quarterback. So, I just wonder how much of the production follows Kirk and then gets a little bit more Penix too. So I'm really interested to see how that looks.
Yep, same. I mean, Burrow missed the playoffs, unfortunately, so maybe that's not quite as intriguing. They had a lot of drama with that team. Cousins doesn't play in the playoffs. They missed the playoffs. So you only get one playoff run. You get Jared Goff, and they lose in the first game. I think watching the Lions' reaction to losing that game probably toward the end of the season is probably going to be one of the most interesting bits. I'm guessing that's in the final episode. Last one. MLB has announced its All-Star Game and Home Run Derby rosters. Byron Buxton makes it for the Twins. Where are you at with All-Star Games, Ron? Where does Major League Baseball's All-Star Game rank amongst the big 4?
So I will say, like, the 3-point contest, the home run derby is similar. Like, it is true skill. Like, the dunk contest for me got a little bit kind of like, you don't have the superstars anymore like you used to. I miss the Aaron Gordons and the Zach Levines where it was like a showdown. It's gotten kind of watered down with it. Basketball, the game itself, like, I don't like all the rule changes. Just play basketball. The football is terrible. Like, let's be real. Like, I enjoy a good flag football game, but it's not what it used to be back when Sean Taylor. Like, I remember I was at that All-Star or Pro Bowl because Reed took us down there, and Sean Taylor, knocking people's heads off. Like that's what I miss about it. Now, I'm not saying knock a punter's head off in the Pro Bowl, but still make it football to a point, and it's not anymore. Hockey, honestly, I feel like hockey still kind of has the allure of a real game, and these guys still are serious about it when they're out there on the ice because it's still hockey. Like, they didn't take anything away. They didn't say don't check each other, don't do. I mean, they're not going to fight because it's an All-Star game, but like, it's still hockey. Like, these guys are out there slinging the puck, they're out there skating fast, they're out there banging it to each other, they're out there trying to, it might be not as aggressive, not as like I'm gonna kill you, but it's still hockey. And the one thing, I don't know what year, this might have been 10, 15 years ago. I don't remember what year this was, but I remember there was a year, or maybe 2, but I remember there's a year, or maybe this wasn't even the NHL game. Maybe this was like a world, like Canadians versus America, but they had like a blue puck. Like every time they hit it, it would turn blue, and then they hit it fast enough, it would turn red. And so that became a thing. Like, guys were trying to hit the puck, I don't know what the speed was to get it from blue to red. But it was only for TV graphics, so it wasn't like they were doing it for real. But it looked like a video game. Like it reminded me of playing, because I played hockey on video games growing up, and it reminded me of it. And it was easy to follow the puck. For a guy like me that doesn't watch a ton of hockey besides playoff hockey, and maybe every once in a while a wild game is on, so I just have it on. Like following the puck, I love that. So I hate to do this, man, but I'm kind of going to go, like, I've talked myself into this. I'm going to let you pick this one too. But I kind of feel like NHL still has the best game. Like, NHL still has the best game out of those groups. Then I would say probably basketball, because it's still basketball, even though it's kind of weird. But like, as far as true gameplay, it's still pitching, it's still hitting, it's still fielding. So I'm gonna go hockey, baseball, basketball, football. I can't believe I just did that. But just like so back in the day, if you'd asked me, it for sure for me was football, basketball, baseball, hockey. But it's flipped the way they've done these games now. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, hockey just recently adopted the Four Nations tournament, right? So they said, we're going to go away from the game every other year. We're just going to have an international competition that people really bought into. So that might actually be the best idea, is just not have an all-star game at all. But I think that there's two skills nights that are worth watching: basketball and the home run derby, which is still pretty cool. Baseball, I think everyone's trying, at least in baseball. Everybody is still trying to pitch well. They're trying to hit well. I just don't like that you put the backups in at the end of the game. Like, let's have the best players in for the whole game. Why do we need to have so much representation? I would rather just have like small rosters, the best players play a full 9 innings instead of watering it down with all the backups and the substitutions. So that's my issue with baseball. I think baseball is probably the purest of the games, but honestly, for me, it's about the skill nights. I like the 3-point contest. I like the home run derby. That to me is more interesting than the actual game.
But so I will say the skill nights, though, the quarterback skill night is good for me still. Like, I still like them trying to hit the targets. I still like, so if we're taking the games out of it and we're going back to skill nights, then football kind of brings it back to the Delta. Like, I don't like the touchdown, catch the touchdown celebration, dunk contest type of thing they try to do. Like, catch the ball and then do something cool over the, jumping over cheerleaders to catch. Stop that. Like, just go back to the fastest man. Like race. Do the quarterback thing. Do the receiver thing where they got to catch, run, catch. Like, keep it to that. Like, that would be great. Dodgeball, I mean, it's kind of cool for kids to watch that, but yeah, I think they lost it. But I still think like hockey truly plays a game. But you're right. When I was in Mexico, I did see the Four Nations thing, and I was asking you about that. I was like, what the heck is this? I'm talking about, we're in Mexico. People were packed outside of restaurants because they had huge 100-foot, 150-foot screens set up like a movie theater. And people were like in the restaurant. People were out on the streets. They had tables, because it's Mexico. You do whatever you want in Mexico if you're a restaurant. They had it looked like their families bought their tables because they didn't have enough tables. Like, some of the tables had white cloth. Some of the tables were just red plastic tables like you would put at a kid's table. I mean, they were doing whatever they could that night to make sure people got a seat so that they can drink it, because there was drink minimums. So I'm trying to make money, but they wanted to make sure those people got to see this hockey thing. And I had no idea what was going on until I texted you, and then you guys told me about that the night before. So, but I want to thank everybody for joining us today on the Ron Johnson Show. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. I'm Ron Johnson at Sam Action. We're gonna be with you all summer, people. And as news drops, as teams start reporting at camp, I will be at training camp. So I have figured out a way. I got to make sure I got it right to make sure we do more on-site interviews, whether it's from former players, whether if I can get a current player. But we're going to make sure the Hang Around Johnson segments continue to just bring great guests. But Max Brosmer, I want to thank Max Brosmer for joining us today on the Hang Around Johnson segment. And make sure you guys tune in next week. Maybe we can get another current Viking. Maybe I get a former Viking, but we'll see. I hope you guys had a great 4th, and enjoy the rest of the week.